whatever it was I saw was very big. I managed to mark a tree in the general locale. I'm going to get some measurements on it later and record that. After I brought the binoculars down from my eyes, when I brought them back up again, it had moved quite a general area. As a matter of fact, this could even be it, guys. It was hard to calculate from where I was at. There's quite a bit of activity back in here where we found the footprint at, like it had been standing and possibly moving from side to side to get a better view, maybe. All I know is it's very big. Very big.
The statement that you just heard actually happened way back in the park by some rock formations. But the actual first incident happened right here. We're in Creve Coeur Park in St. Louis County, Missouri, and on the morning of September 15th, 1976, myself, along with a friend of mine, saw what I can still only classify as being a Bigfoot creature lumbering between two trees. Now, I'm 5'8". I'm going to go over by the tree with my walking stick so you can get a perspective on what I saw that night. Hang on. I have to walk down here to the tree. Okay. Okay. And again, I'm 5'8". This stick is a total of 44 inches. Right there, this notch on the tree would be the top of the head of the creature. Okay, I'm going to mark on video so you can see this. Now, I'm going to step aside and insert an illustration of what the creature looked like so you can get that perspective. I was impressed. That was on a Sunday. In fact, it was the Sunday of my color belt testing in the Weight-Spirit Karate Do, so I didn't have a chance to come back here until the following weekend to try to investigate what it is that I thought I'd seen. When we got back here, there was straw all over the area here. That was the beginning of the renovation of this park to what it is today. Speculation has it that it may have been the nature-disturbing renovation activity that may have caused the Bigfoot activity. Down the path here is the next location of the next incident. While we're moving to that location, I'm going to share with you some footage. The first footage I was able to shoot on an actual, real in-depth investigation. The location, Canóvanas, Puerto Rico. The date, February 1996. The paranormal subject, Chupacabra.
Joe, would you like to say something? Would you like to mention something about this?
I don't know. We have gotten very lucky today. While we were at the mayor's office, we got information about one attack on I believe it was a sheep, and a couple of rabbits, one or two that were apparently killed last night. Within, I think it's within the last probably 18 hours, something like that. And apparently what happened today is the Chupacabra is alleged to have jumped up and over into the area.
Through this fence?
From
where? Show us, do you know where the area is?
From here.
From where? Right here?
Right here.
Right here. Into this trash area?
No,
okay.
Jump over
here.
In, and opened the cage.
Opened the cage.
And did its thing.
So it showed might have some sentiency by the mere fact that it opened instead of ripped it open.
It definitely has dexterity.
Right.
The description that we've been getting of Chupacabras, they tend to have claws that, from what I've seen, reminds me more of a mongoose.
Okay.
And to have the dexterity with that kind of clumsiness with claws and such, to be able to go over there and grab and adjust the cage to open it up, I think it's pretty significant.
And not only that, it probably at least as intelligent as, say, a chimp or something of that nature.
Without doubt.
So it has fairly high intelligence. Not just necessarily have a sentient intelligence.
Right.
This is a gentleman who's with us over the fence.
Somebody get a plastic bag.
Get a what?
Get a plastic bag.
Get a plastic bag, Bob.
I have a piece of hair on the edge of the wall.
Ah,
Okay. There's one in the van.
He's saying that there were several holes in the Chupacabras.
You mean in the rabbit?
In the rabbit, and that the anal area was incised completely with a very clean incision, with no blood in the animal.
Compatible con las ovejas que vamos a ir ahorita del Lilo Reyes.
Very compatible in the same type of work done or performed on the sheep.
El mismo diámetro de las incisiones.
With the same puncture marks, the same incision marks.
Did you get? Are you?
And the rabbit.
I'm getting a
You're
shooting.
getting this audio.
Yes.
What we've done here is we've taken some hair samples from the edge of the wall. We have testimony that the Chupacabras jumped this wall into this area, killed a rabbit. We're hoping that we can analyze these hairs and see. Most likely they're rabbit hairs that were blown here, but we will check.
I see some more right here. There's a piece right there.
I see. They do seem to be curly.
Somewhat curly.
That's
very
not
fine and
that's not typical of rabbit hair.
That's not.
The rabbits I see here, their hair is quite straight.
There's another one. Right there. Got it? Here's another one. Right there. Blowing. You
Well,
can
maybe
catch it
this
in the
thing
sun.
didn't leap over it. Maybe it crawled over it.
Well, the testimony says it leapt. And we've checked the area of the soil. We don't see any evidence at all of footprints, and the people who brought us walked on the soil.
Everything you
before
need is in here. Bags, cutting things,
Okay.
things to write on, everything.
Keep a hold of this, and would you?
I want to go down in with the interview.
Give it to me and I'll hold it.
Okay, you hold it, John.
You mean the people are here now?
Mi hermana de allá de la loma lo ve en mi casa trepado.
Her sister
My
from
sister,
up there in the hill
Yeah.
can't see this creature on top of her house here.
Entonces me dice, my sister, don't open the window because the chupacabra is into techo.
Don't open the window
roof.
because the chupacabra is right on your roof.
Yeah.
Tell us what it looked like.
¿Cómo es? ¿Tú la viste?
Sí, ese animal es grisoso,
Grayish?
tiene ojos ovalados, tiene
And
alas,
almond-shaped eyes, like wings.
las alas tiene uñitas y
And
tiene 3 dedos de los dedos así. Los brazos son así secos.
I'm like this with 3 fingers.
¿Cuándo fue eso?
Eso es todas las noches.
Every night, every day.
Todas las noches.
Last night too? O sea, last night.
Claro, se ve de todas las noches.
Every day and last night too.
Todo el mundo aquí lo ha visto. Oiga, papá, no coge.
¿Pasó entonces anoche?
Sí, mira todos esos conejos que se cortó
Should
por
you
el
have come
día.
yesterday? Yesterday
No han
afternoon?
cogido porque no han querido, porque el animal está aquí. Mi hermana se trepa así encima del techo y la levanta el zinc para
They
arriba.
haven't catched it because they haven't been here because every day is around the place,
Yeah.
you know.
What are we doing tonight at midnight?
Mira cómo hay que andar, porque yo jalo.
Camping out.
¿Y por qué usted anda con esa machete?
Mire, yo ando con este machete porque eso hasta de día está.
I'm walking around with this machete.
Yeah.
Even on the daylight, this thing is around.
Oh, really? The daylight?
Daylight.
Entonces, mire, donde quiera, toda esta parcela tiene túnel y quebrada. Y ese animal donde tú una quebrada, ahí está él.
Okay, all over these areas, in these
Small
parcels
rivers
here,
and streams.
there are connections and
visited
tubes,
small
concrete tubes between the creeks
Y
and the water,
en ese mismo
and it
palo,
moves around this place.
en ese palo que está ahí, se mete él.
In that tree over there, it
Y
gets
de
inside
mi
the tree.
casa, yo lo veo de mi casa, que los perros ladran y miran para arriba.
Yep, you got
Los perros.
And dogs start barking.
Yo tengo un perrito, un chihuahua, que él cuando lo ve, pasa, y pega el chillido. Yo digo, ¿será que ve algo? Y él mira para el cielo, pues es que lo ve volando.
She has a small Chihuahua dog that starts howling whenever it sees something.
Y para arriba es que ellos miran, pegan a chillar para arriba. Es que los animales...
They make any noise, or hey, could you ask if they make any noise?
Ask her, Sandy.
Usted sabe que yo no le he cogido, retrato, porque yo le tengo miedo.
Que si él hace algún ruido.
Sí.
¿Cómo?
Eso hace... bien duro, chilla. Chilla duro.
Sounds, he says.
Y entonces tira mucho murmullo.
And like a mumbling sound.
Y pita esto le hace para atrás como la iguana.
And makes like a whistling sound.
Y pita. Pero duro, da miedo.
That has been said by many other witnesses. It makes like a whistling sound.
Y tiene áreas verdes.
Very red eyes and certain areas are greenish.
Eso cuando pasa por al lado, por la casa, deja como una peste a pozo duro.
Like a stench.
Sí, como a fango podrido así. Y como a cabro. Cosa bien mala, bien desagradable.
Usted ha visto los ojos, ¿no? ¿Cómo son?
Rojos igualados.
Red, elongated eyes.
Largos para atrás.
Any other unusual thing about the eyes?
¿Hay algo más sobre los ojos que le llama la atención?
Sí, tiene como en el centro de los ojos, como a manera como algo que notiza, como un rayo, algo.
It has something right in the middle of the eyes that like hypnotizes or something, like a light beam or something.
Entonces parece que los animalitos los notiza.
She believes that's what hypnotizes or controls the animals.
Entonces, mira, si él está aquí y la persona está por allá, por aquella casa allá, y hace un sonido, un ruido, él mira y oye que el oído es bien atento, que a larga distancia de aquella casa de allí, usted habla allá o dice murmulla poquito y él está como si usted tuviera...
Apparently he's very cautious, and whenever he hears a sound at a certain distance, because she has observed it several times already in the area, she says that every night in this area after 12 o'clock in the night, these things come by, you know. Many people have seen them, and she has seen them.
How long has it been happening?
How long?
Bueno, hace como de 4 meses para acá que ese animal está en esta área y que yo lo estoy viendo y lo estoy sintiendo encima de mi hogar.
For 4 months, every night.
Viene cuando hace algo como eso que hizo ayer, ya vino por la noche, pero se cubrió. No hizo, pero casi toda la noche.
Almost every night. Okay.
And then we just perform the necropsy here. Okay? And the thing is that in this particular farm, it killed over 20 birds there. Okay? Yeah, we're talking about fighting cocks, about laying hens, about peacocks, about guineas, you know, all type of birds there, okay? And different type of puncture wounds, again, circular, perfect wounds again, a lot of puncture wounds. And the thing about this one,
those are brought to again also,
yeah. All these cases are, you know, brought to people here to the clinic, okay?
After the rabbit,
these were brought from news news person, but from Miami.
Okay.
They are Primer Impacto, that's our Spanish-speaking, you know, network. Okay. And they were doing some research here, and you know, they brought this bird here. Okay?
This happened over here in this country?
Yeah.
In this island? Okay.
They were here when we were there. Okay?
Wow. But that was after the rabbit?
Yeah, this was, a long way after the rabbit. Okay, thing is that, again, this animal had a wound here in the neck, okay, going into the brain, kills the animal, okay, going from there.
Okay. Can you turn it that way too when you're done with that? Thank you.
Okay, sit there.
Okay.
Big here.
Okay.
Going here.
Okay.
Some peacocks what it happened is that it had two different puncture wounds. One here, one in the left side, one in the right side. Okay? In this particular one, had one puncture wound. Okay? Now, too bad this one is frozen. But I'm going to show you what happened here. This bird only had 3 puncture wounds. 3 external puncture wounds. Okay? All half a centimeter.
Half a centimeter.
Okay?
Exact, perfect circle.
One here. One here. And one here. Okay. In the left and right shoulders. Okay? Okay? Now, one thing about this, very important about this, what happened, is that this bird, okay, in the muzzle, okay, in the right side, okay, head here, and here, okay, one wound here, which we can trace it by the skin, okay, but in this area, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 more internal holes that were,
internal meaning there's no sign.
no signs of skin being damaged, except the one here and the one in the other side. Okay?
Did you get through from the organ or something?
From the inside. My theory is that this creature has some type of organ or system or something that once it goes in, has the capacity or going, you know, flexible into searching for different organs, okay? Because from this hole, no, it has the hole. It's like one like this. Boom, two, okay? Exactly. And the thing is that from here, once you open it, it had in the heart, okay, a hole in the heart, okay, half a centimeter, okay, in the venous return, and then in the liver, he had portion of the liver gone, okay? It's like, you know, taking some, you know, portions like a biopsy or something like that, okay? Just taking a small portion of the liver, okay? So, with all the animals that I have seen, you know, one thing is that, first of all, some animals have blood, others have less amount of blood, but they still have blood. Okay. The pattern of killing, it's like a puzzle. Yeah, like a puzzle. You know, just you have different pieces, you know, and try to figure it out because it changes sometimes. Okay. Perdona, Harrison. Chequeame el perrito afuera.
So, but some of those, do they always have, is there any victim that had full blood? Do they all have part of blood inside?
Like I say, I have seen animals which they have the full amount of blood, okay? Some that have less amount of blood, but I never have seen an animal with no blood because they still have, okay? They still have, okay?
So all of them had some kind of
So, you know, there are a lot of cases here, and there's a lot of unreported cases here in Puerto Rico also. There are a lot of unreported cases.
Did we ask you, like, how many animals altogether has been brought to the clinic?
Yes, more than about, I would say about 2 dozen already. 2 dozen? About 2 dozen. No, 2 dozens.
Oh, 2 dozen.
Yeah.
These are your...
Here in Puerto Rico, they have killed over 2,000 already.
Yeah.
Over a year and a half lifespan. That's including everything, birds, you know, and sheep and everything.
To your levels, 2 dozen.
Yeah.
Let's see, so do you believe that, what do you think did this though? What do you think did all these things? Like some creature?
Well, for sure it's a predator. Okay? For sure it's a predator. And for sure it's an unknown creature. Okay? It's an unknown creature. You know, it's an unknown creature.
An update on the hair samples that I helped collect. Mark Davenport alleges that he sent hair samples to 3 different laboratories in the United States. Interestingly enough, all 3 laboratories each reported that either 1, the samples were lost or misplaced. Now fortunately for us, there was a Japanese publication interested in the Chupacabra story, and they agreed to have the hair samples analyzed. The results? They couldn't be 100% accurate on what the hair might have belonged to. The closest that they could come was saying that the hair seemed to resemble that of a wolf. There's only one problem with that. There is no wolf population in Puerto Rico. Canovanus was my second experience with collecting hair samples from the field. My first was March 15th, 1977, exactly 6 months to the day from my first sighting at the front of the park. Essentially what happened was, and there's a little bit to this story, so bear with me. Some friends of mine and I decided to go out to the park to see if there was anything that we could find, any tracks, because we were at the end of the snow season, and we thought, well, if there's any chance of finding any tracks, this is the time. So we went out, and as you saw the path that I was walking up here, there's a point where in fact we're at it right now, where the path splits in 2. There's a lower area that goes that way, and then there's the path splits and goes up this way. Well, this particular time, since there were 3 of us, I followed the lower path and my 2 friends went up on the upper path. So, moving forward to the next point in the story, in the incident, as we met further down the path together, because the upper one leads down to the lower one again, one of my friends had commented that he had been following some dog tracks, and that the dog tracks led to a certain point and then stopped. They didn't back up, they didn't turn around. Mystery. So we go a little bit further on down the path, and as we do, we notice that there's a fellow sitting up considerably up the hill on a rock, solitary, you know. We didn't think too much about it because lots of people come out to Creve Coeur Park, or at least used to, for that kind of nature communing. So we reached a point where we all wanted to kind of stop making the trek on the path and catch our breath. And my 2 colleagues, my 2 friends, decided to go up the hill to see if there's anything in the immediate area to see. So I was there by myself, just admiring the pure snow and the nature. And the snow in front of me was about 10 feet wide by about 15-20 feet long, and untouched. There weren't any tracks, anything. And as I gazed at it, I began to realize that there was hair on top. It's like, that looks like hair. And then the more I looked at this pure patch of snow, this hair was finally spread all over it. And as I was curious about it, my friends called me on the walkie-talkies. We always carried communications with us. And so I went up the hill. They had found a cabin that had been there since the Prohibition days, since there used to be a trolley that ran from the city out to Creve Coeur Park here and then back. So it's like, no, this has nothing to do with Bigfoot. So we came back down the hill, and tromping around a little bit, the snow was not pure anymore. And I mentioned the hair to my buddies, and so we all start looking at this patch of snow, and lo and behold, we find a clump, if you will, of hair that had flesh on the end of it. And once it was pointed out, it was like, okay, something happened here. Something happened here. And as one of my friends was looking at it, he said, you know what? That looks like shepherd dog hair. Because there's this gray and black and tan at the beginning of the shaft, and then he's noticing the coloration of it. And I thought, okay, we have the mystery of the dog tracks that didn't go anyplace, and now we have an area back here that at first looked to be just pure snow, but had hair all over it, and now we found hair with actual flesh at the end of it. Something had a fight. Something happened here. So we're on our way back, and the fellow that we had passed that was way up on top of the hill had now moved down to sit. So back at that time, as occurs, you run across somebody on the path and you say, hey, how's it going, man? And we did. And he said, not too good, man. I was out here last night, and my dog went off in the woods and never came back. So we're all kind of looking at each other thinking, And my buddy says, well, what kind of dog was it? Well, it was a shepherd dog. Okay. How big of a dog was it? Pretty big, about 80, 100 pounds. And my friend had remarked about the tracks that he saw seeming to be from a decent-sized dog. So we have a dog that ran off. We have an area where there's hair all over the place, golden tan, which is in fact what the man also told us, the color of the dog. And we have golden tan hair with a flesh clump. So we said, well, we hadn't seen a dog, so, if we come across a dog, we'll shout out or something. And we continued on down the path. And one of the other guy was like, well, shouldn't we tell him? It's like, tell him what? We don't really have anything substantial to tell him, and we can't very well tell him that Bigfoot ate his dog. That's not going to go over. So we did gather that flesh sample, and now at this point it becomes a matter of my having to trust what one of my buddies tells me. Told me that he knew a vet that could analyze the sample, and so he took it to this vet. The vet did not want it. He analyzed it, called this guy, said, look, there's two forms of hair here. One is definitely canine, the other one, I have no idea what it is. I don't want to know what it is. I don't want anything more to do with this. Don't use my name, etc., etc. Now that's the story about the flesh sample and the hair gathering. We ran into a roadblock. It's not easy getting something unusual analyzed. An associate of mine, Lloyd Pye, who's also the author of the book Everything You Know Is Wrong, Book 1, Human Origins, knows better than most. I met Lloyd at the 1999 Eureka Springs UFO conference. If Lloyd has what we both think he has, then he has the smoking gun that could very well prove the existence of extraterrestrials. We're going to move down to the final point now, while you look at the skulls.
Now, what it means to be human, and I'll just talk to them. If you look at the human skull, the key features you have to notice, or that you should notice, are the eye sockets first. Now, the eye sockets in a human being are cone shaped. It's kind of hard to get the view just right. See if you can see in there the cones. You see how the depth of them? They're 5 centimeters. They're 2 joints of my finger. 2 joints of my finger. The depth. Now, at the very back of the cone, right there at the back. Now, the reason is because we human beings have eyes that move to see. We have the eyeball, and we have muscles at the top, bottom, left, and right. So we have attachment points in here, and the eyeball itself sits here. And in the back, at the back of the cone, is the optic nerve and the optic fissures, the optic canals. If you can see those slices there, those cuts in the back. There you go, nice close-up. So, understand the cone with optic nerve all the way at the back of the cone and optic fissures there. All right, now, another thing to notice is, and by the way, with her teeth, while we have the close-up, the wear that we see on her teeth tell us that she was about 25 to 30 when she died. So, I mean, excuse me, 20 to 30, so we figure around 25. Now, in a normal human being, as we look at this, this is your cheekbone right here. It's called your zygomatic arch. This is your cheekbone. This is your eye, your cheekbone right here, and it wraps around here. Up through here, if you notice, this is your temple area. There are there's big muscles that come up through here. And as you see, I can get 2 fingers up through here easily, my 2 forefingers. Okay? Now, they come up and those muscles spread out, they fan out, and they attach along this line that you see my finger tracing right here. All the way back around down here, and if you notice this part down here, this is your ear. This is your ear right here. So this is the mastoid bone. This is the bone behind your ear, so that you see, doing this backwards, it comes all the way here. You can stick your own fingers on the side of your head and grimace, bite your teeth, grimace down, and you will feel your muscles working all through here. So you see how extensive is the spread of the chewing muscles as they come up through here and attach all over the side of the head. They do not at the top. You see the difference, and you can see that line where they do. But it's very extensive where they come. Now we'll come around to the back of the head, and now we have these 2 bones here are called the parietals. This one, this single bone here, shaped like this, is the occipital bone. That's the rear part right here. Now the occipital bone in everyone is the same. This point right here, this knot at the back of your head, and you can feel your own knot at the back of your head, that's called the inion, I-N-I-O-N, the inion. Now below the inion, you see these 2 dents here. These are the attachment points for the 2 big muscles that come up the back of your neck. These you can feel in the back of your neck. You have 2 thick muscles, and they attach right here, and that's why the inion is so thick, because these muscles have to have extra depth of bone to attach to. But your neck, which begins at the inion, you have head up, then you have neck down. Your neck comes from the inion over around here, and you see those attachments again down there, and the same way over here, over and down. All of this that you're looking at, this whole semicircle of bone right in here, is neck attachments. All of that. So your neck sits like that. Now, notice, if you will, this person was cradle boarded. See the flatness of the back of her head? Well, when she was a baby, her mother strapped her into a backpack kind of affair that pressed her against a board and flattened the back of her head. And as I feel this with my fingers, it's like a pool table. It's very smooth. Even though it looks ridged here, it's actually not. It's very smooth. That is a mark of cradle boarding. You'll hear about that in a minute. Now, notice, if you will, the center point of a human head, where it goes, where the spine enters the head. This is called the foramen magnum, and that is off center. That's the balance point, is off center. And the reason is, if you could feel it, this is all solid weight back here. This is all bone and solid brain. But from here forward, it's hollow for the most part. You have sinuses all up here. You have these 2 deep, see how deep my fingers go in? 2 deep eye sockets. You have a nasal passage, and you have a mouth. So that the front part of your skull is hollow. So the balance point has to be to the rear to make it balance upright. All right, with all of that said, and seeing how a normal human skull is supposed to look, And even a deformed skull is going to have, like if the face is gone, the back will be okay. If one side is gone, the other side will be okay. You don't get deformities whole cloth. You don't get an entire change. Something goes wrong in one or two or maybe three things, but if that many things go wrong with a normal deformity of the head, the child dies. It expires. You can't live with that many things wrong with you, generally. Okay, with all of that said, let's take a close look at what we're calling the Starchild and look at the differences. Okay, now, because of the staining, it's a little dark, but if you can get up close and see and focus on the eyes, we no longer have cones. What we have are just scoop marks out of the bone. Take it back. Like that? Yes. Okay. So we have, yeah, that's very good. We have scoops, like just scoops out rather than cones. And if you notice, they're very shallow. And instead of the blunt ridges, feel your own brow ridges, and you'll see how round they are. These are very sharp. They're not. They won't cut you, but these are absolutely like a piece of paper. They're blade-like. And then you notice, oh, there you go, good shot. So then you see that down here, the optic nerves have been moved from the center, like up here, that they've been slid down, and the optic canals completely out of the way. These eyes could not move like our eyes do. There's no room for the muscles. There's no attachments for the muscles. These were fixed eyes. And your first thought would be, well, okay, then if the eyes are fixed and maybe they bulge out of the head a little bit, to see, it would have to move its head. Not necessarily. If its optic nerves was mostly the peripheral receptors that we have on the outside of ours, we have weak peripheral vision. If it had mostly peripheral receptors, you could have an eye sitting here, be immovable, but it would have panoramic vision. And if you move the optic nerve out of the way down to the bottom like it has here, it won't have a blind spot. We have a blind spot. So this technically could be a better eye than we have if it was designed in certain ways. Now, one could make the argument, well, maybe this kid was just blind. That is true. It is possible that it was. But it looks like a very designed eye to me, because if you feel in here, you can't really see it, but there's a little dent here, a little convolution, and there's a kind of a lift in the bone, and then there's another little lift down here. And if you feel on the other eye, it's the exact same thing. Now, how do you get a deformity with such incredible subtlety of definition in the bone? I think it's designed. I think they're clearly designed, in my view, to look the way they look. Notice that for a 5-year-old, this is a very wide bridge of the nose. This is very wide for a 5-year-old as well, so the face is not going to be anything like ours. Now, as we talked a moment ago about the zygomatic arch, remember that in the human it went straight across, it was a horizontal. Well, in this it's a 45-degree angle. This is the base tip of it, and this is where it would connect right here, so it would go like this. And it's much smaller, and it's much closer to the face than was ours. Remember, I got the 2 fingers up under ours? Well, right here, you see the little trough, you see that little bitty trough right there? You might get a couple of spaghetti noodles up here, rather than 2 fingers. Very much smaller. Now notice, if you will, that the attachment points for it, instead of being up through the whole side of the head, coming up to here and coming up around here where it does in a human, this now comes only to right there. You can see the difference. It's reduced by about 1/3. So it's like the muscles have been detached from up here, where they belong, shrunk, and then reattached down here where they don't belong. It's very unusual for that to happen in any kind of a deformity, where you have everything intact but not the same size and not in the same position. All right, now notice, if you will, the difference in those parietal bones. Remember I showed you the parietal bones in back? Well, look at the difference in the size of these parietal bones here. We could be looking at a 3-lobed brain here, in fact. A frontal lobe, a left lobe, and a right lobe. This is quite possible. We don't know. We'll have to take an endocranial cast to find out, but it is possible that we're looking at a 3-lobed brain. Now, the main thing to notice here is the flattening, the incredible flattening of the occipital. And I'm glad the lights are like this because it points out something really important. This, instead of being curved like it is on the human, you can see it is flat. It has absolutely been flattened, like it's been ironed or something. But it hasn't, because remember with the woman, she had been cradle boarded and it was just like a pool table. Well, this is very rough. You can feel a bump here, bump here, bump. It's convoluted. Even though it's flat, it's not flattened. It isn't just smooth. It's convoluted. And remember the inion, the bump, that knot at the back of the head? Well, this is its inion right here. See that? Can you see what that light is telling you? It goes under. It goes in. It's concave right through here. So one of the thickest parts of the skull in a human is now one of the thinnest parts in this one. And if you stick your finger in and feel, you can feel the reduction. You know, if you feel with the tube between your finger and thumb. But notice, if you will, you remember where the two big things attached right underneath the inion? The two big neck muscles? Well, notice where they are here. They're down here. They've been moved a good centimeter to 2 centimeters down, and they attach here. And the neck muscle now, you see this little ridge? You can see the ridge. The neck goes through here to this ridge. So you're looking at a neck that's about 1/3 the size of a human neck. This head is going to sit on that neck like a golf ball on a golf tee. It's going to look very unusual relative to us, but here's what's most unusual. See the connectors right here? Look where the spine, look where the spine connects. About 1 centimeter or 2 down, there's your spine. Now, our necks are so moved up here and they're so thick with muscle because our spine is so fragile and it has to be protected. This kid has no protection at all for his spine. It comes right down to the spine. Now notice too, the balance point, if you've set it up so that his eyes can look forward, look where his balance point is. You see it? It's dead center. His head is balanced on his spine, dead center, not just sideways, but front ways too. Obviously. So, you see? Now, why is that? Well, his balance point is different from our balance point. I'm sorry that my hand has to be in the way, but here's the deal with him. He's solid brain. He's solid brain. Here in front of his head, he's brain back here like we are, but in the front here, he has absolutely no sinuses, no trace of sinuses. His sinuses are gone. Furthermore, he has very shallow eye sockets. We don't know what nose he had, but it doesn't look like much, nor does the mouth. So this is a solid brain. A solid brain. Now, how do we know that? Well, we can take the volume measurement of the two skulls. Now, let me put them both back up so you can understand what I'm about to tell you. They are approximately the same size. If you measure them, they are 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters. Now, this is a small human being. Probably female, but it is a small human being. This is a large 5-year-old, very large 5-year-old. So the two are approximately the same size, and yet in terms of volume and weight, they're completely different. This weighs 1 pound, 13 ounces. An average human skull weighs 2.2 pounds. So this is 1 pound, 13 ounces. This skull, which is approximately the same size, weighs 13 ounces. 1 pound, fully 1 pound less. That is very unusual. It's like paper mache almost. It's incredibly light, and yet, as you see, it is bone, it is well knitted, it is well put together, but it's thinned out and it's redesigned. Now, another thing, let me get a better grip on it. Another thing is that this is the brain that is in there, and we measured this out, is 1,200 cubic centimeters. 1,200 cubic centimeters of brain go in this skull. An average human being is 1,400 centimeters, 200 centimeters more. So we know this was a small human skull. Now this one, on the other hand, and see, I'm even having a much harder time to hold this up than this. This is nothing. I can hold this all night long. This weighs me down, and I have to re-grip it because it weighs 1 pound more. But this one, instead of being 1,400 even, or 1,200 like this, or 1,400, this is 1,600 cubic centimeters of brain. Why? Because sinus cavities, deep eye sockets, that's taking up brain space. taking up brain space. In this one, there are no sinus cavities. There are those shallow 3-centimeter eyes, so you've got a lot more room for brain in here, and there's a better design down in this part. It's much wider across the base than is the other one. So in every imaginable way, you're looking at something that is non-human. These are non-human eyes. This is a non-human cheek area. This is a non-human parietal area, both cases. This is a very non-human occipital area. This is a very non-human neck. And this is an extremely non-human brain. 200 more cubic centimeters of brain in anthropological circles warrants a new species. Homo habilis is one of the early prehumans. Homo erectus is 200 cubic centimeters more. The next one up, Homo archaic, is another 200 centimeters. Neanderthal, the one after Homo archaic, another 200 centimeters. So this is, at 5 years old, 200 centimeters more than the human average of 1,400, and at 5 years old, this is going to grow to be 1,800 to 2,000 centimeters of brain. Incredible relative to humans. The largest human brain, I think, on record is 1,800 cubic centimeters, if I'm not mistaken. So we're looking at something that I think is going to prove to be distinctly and definitively different, and not a deformity, but a different kind of being. And of course, if that's true, then it would have to be classified as an alien, or possibly an alien-human hybrid. And that's the case that I'm out presenting to people, and the testing that we're doing, and we're going to be doing DNA testing. The endocranial cast that I mentioned, we're going to do carbon-14 to determine how old it is. And in every way, we're going to try to prove scientifically, not just what I'm telling you that is based on the facts as I know them and understand them now, based on the study that I've done for the last few weeks, but prove it in such a way that it absolutely cannot be refuted, that this is indeed an alien or alien-human hybrid, or if it goes the way that I do not expect it to go, it will be proven that it is in fact a deformed human, a horribly deformed human of some kind. But I will tell you this now, it will be a deformity that has never been seen before. There's nothing like this in any medical textbook anywhere that I've seen, or any record of human deformity that I've seen up to this point. I have not seen them all, but I've seen enough to know this is not the way deformity usually goes.
I'll be illustrating in detail tomorrow for the first time in any public venue. Apart from countless morphological differences between the Starchild and a normal human skull, there are newly discovered physiological differences in the bone itself that boggles the mind of experts and laymen alike. Here's a list of 5. Within the bone, there are filament or fiber-like structures that are embedded in the matrix of the bone itself. No one has any idea what these things are. They aren't found in human bone. And there are more than one kind evident in the Starchild. This is the first great puzzle. I assure you it's a jaw-dropper, and we don't really know where to begin to tell you what it is. But those of you who come will see for yourselves. The second one is high levels of aluminum and silicon have been found in various readings of the bone chemistry taken by a scanning electron microscope. These elevated readings shouldn't be there. As you know, aluminum is poison to humans, and we don't have silicon at nearly those levels. This is another great puzzle to solve. We're just beginning the process of realizing that these things are there. Number 3, there's a layering in the bone that alternates in certain points between normal bone and something chemically close to tooth enamel in the bone. This is not normal. So maybe it's one of the reasons, at least, why the Starchild bone is harder than it should be. We're still trying to figure it out. We're still basically trying to figure out everything, but at least we have something to work on now to sink our efforts into. Number 4, the bone has much higher levels of collagen in it than is expected for its size. It's as if the same amount of collagen that would be in a normal bone, and you have to understand the Starchild is less than half as thick as normal bone. But it's as if the same amount of collagen is there, but compressed. like compressing a computer file. We don't know what that means either. Number 5, most stunningly, this is the one that's really going to tear people's heads off, we think. Though the bone is 900 years old, there seems to be desiccated marrow left in some of the cancellous holes between the cortical surfaces. Bone has solid upper and lower surfaces, and inside it has holes in it where the marrow moves. When you die, bacteria completely cleans those out. I mean, absolutely spit shines them. But in this case, there's red residue in there in the cancellous holes of some of the holes. Absolutely stunning, because that means that somehow organic material, if indeed it is, we don't know yet if it's biological or mineral, but if it's biological, that means that somehow biological material has lasted for 900 years, and a very thorough DNA test has somehow failed to find it.
The anomalous skull is alleged to have been found in an old mine. Oddly enough, we were trying to look under some rock that might have led into a cave when we had our final encounter. Listen.
And we've shortly, maybe in the span of 5 or 10 minutes ago, while we were off the path over towards the incline of the park, Brenda was looking through some binoculars and sighted something large and black. Rick proceeded to try and go after it. The tree was about 50 yards from where we were, and the thing just disappeared. It is gone. But we do have a track here, and there's another track possibly 4 feet towards the left.
On the footprint itself, it measures about 5 by 12, but there is a definite indentation, possibly 4 or 3 pads with a back pad behind it, similar almost to a dog paw, but it's at the end of the extension, which really makes it highly unusual. There's a definite outline. One of the trees was located out here in approximately the same area. There's nothing wrong with this tree. It's solid on the inside, but it's been knocked over at about a 9-10 foot height. The way that the tree should have fallen, it hasn't. It looks like it had been hit, and from the blow itself, the end of it pushed over the one way. There's no burn marks indicating any lightning striking it. It's an extremely healthy tree by all indications. No wormwood, no decimation whatsoever of the tree. Really no explanation whatsoever as to why this sucker split in half. It's a recent break. There's the wood is still white and bleached on the inside like it would normally be. I'll bring a sample of it back.
As luck would have it, I was the only one that day that didn't see the creature. And it wouldn't be the only time that happened to me. While I caught the following on camera for a substantial amount of time, I never looked up. I never saw it with the naked eye. However, to be fair about it, I'm not entirely sure that I would have seen it. See, I think that what I caught on camera may very well have fallen into the infrared radiation spectrum. Now, let me show you something. A standard home remote control. Today's cameras can pick up the infrared spectrum. If I activate this remote and look at it, I can't see anything, but the camera can.
Affected. That's a purposeful.
Is that a jet? See that?
Oh yeah. Holy shit. That's not a jet.
Still there.
That looks so much like what the tape I got sent from the scout in Baltimore, Maryland. It's a whole lot like that.
I haven't seen one quite like that.
Come back, come back, come back. Yep. It did.
It's a CE5. It's interactive.
Dan!
Come back. It's back. Stay.
Still there?
Yeah. It went away a couple times. I thought it'd come back. It came back.
Holy shit. That's what I said.
What is that?
That's on my camera. I'm going to switch to Tony's real quick and see if... Okay, Tony, pull yours back to equal mine.
I mean, unzoom?
Zoom back.
How far? I'm all the way zoomed back now.
Okay, I've got... Okay. This is good. This is good. Roll that goddamn camera. Hold up. The UFO isn't inclined to hold up.
It might.
Okay, I've pulled back further this way. Now we're going to see.
Not seeing nothing when you pull back.
Okay, this is very interesting.
I'm zoomed back out.
Just roll. Just go. Okay, tally lights on. Excitement. We just got something on my camera over there, and I pulled back, and it doesn't seem to be there right now. I'm going to zoom in. Let's look over there at the monitor. I'm going to zoom back in about where I was, which is right about there, and let's see if it comes back.
It's there.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Where?
Right here.
Get close. Maybe you get a little closer.
And it's moving around.
Maybe I can block some of the glare with my body, or will that help?
You see that, Dan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, it's very important. About a month ago, I got a videotape from a woman in Baltimore, Maryland. Lisa, her name is. She videotaped around midnight off of her back deck towards the Bay Area. And this is very similar to what she got on it in the length, the shape, the...
Whoa.
Anyway, very, very similar. Now, needless to say, as we're taping here, what you're seeing, we also have tape running in my camera, so we definitely have this without the television screen around. Okay? We now have comparative footage of what seems to be a very similar object. And what's interesting at this point, Tony doesn't seem to be getting it on his camera. I'm going to switch to Tony's camera here with the switcher.
It's off yours too now, though.
Yeah, okay. But before, when we saw it on this monitor, on my camera, I went to Tony's. He was zoomed in quite a bit. I asked him to zoom back, and we've got the soundtrack on my camera as well, to kind of match about the same framing off the edge of the roof of the house here. He zoomed back. We could not see it on his camera. I went back via the switcher to my camera and it was there. Now, an interesting thing that happened, and maybe it was coincidence, maybe not. It went off the screen and I was standing over there by Tony. I said, "Come back." And it instantly came back into the picture. Come back, come back, come back. Yep. It did. And Tony exclaimed, what did you saw it
And
called?
then when you went into the house to get Dan, it went away again, and I said come back. It also came back again.
Okay, and you called that CE what?
CE5. There's a book by the NASA scientists, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which is referring to any kind of interactive element that UFOs have. In other words, if you flash your flashlight at it, it flashes back, or you motion for it to come and it comes, stuff like that.
Okay, now, correct me, Tony, we now have clouds. Are you still rolling, Dan?
Yes.
Still rolling. We now have clouds. So we're back to that issue of there being clouds there and this object not being seen.
There it is. It's back.
Oh, guess what? We got
clouds just went by.
We got clouds.
And then it just disappeared.
It just disappeared. Okay.
Interesting.
Now what's very important to understand about what we just saw, what we just witnessed, is sun flare does not move all over the place. Sun flare is not that intensely of an isolated item that stays the same length and kind of travels around and then zips off the screen.
There it is, it's back. It's definitely a self-illuminated object.
Yeah, and there it is. Okay, we have clouds behind it.
Wow. Can't tell if it's actually... Okay, well, whatever that was that went by went in front of it.
Yeah.
Now it's disappearing.
It's disappearing into the clouds. Okay, I'm going to switch over to Tony's camera real quick to see if we're getting any. There it is. Now, I'm not on Tony's camera. This is Tony's camera. We got too much glare. Can you do anything to turn that glare down?
Make sure the shutter speed is up to par.
We got totally white screen on yours. I'm going back to mine. Okay, whatever that was is not there. But again, emphasizing that this is the same type of object that Lisa from Baltimore, Maryland sent me. That, in fact, the person behind the camera now, Dan Cooper, and I did an interview with Stanton T. Friedman about 2 weeks ago. And I handed him off a copy of the tape that Lisa sent me because he was fascinated. He couldn't figure out what it was. Stanton T. Friedman, nuclear physicist, been into the UFO research, as I understand it, since 1958. But he was fascinated by that object. If he's fascinated by that, he's going to be doubly fascinated by this. Okay. I've just recently discovered the name and address of the person that does photo and video analysis of UFOs for the Mutual UFO Network. So as of this taping, the video is being prepared for shipment. The very nature of most paranormal activity is that it seems to be momentary. It happens, and then it's gone almost as fast as it occurs. So you're dealing with two issues. You're dealing with, one, your ability to perceive a paranormal event, and number two, the fact that they seem to occur in their own time and in their own way. I was not prepared for what I saw that night in Creveport Park. However, I have been very fortunate in the research, investigation, and video documentation since then. And there's just a whole lot of paranormal activity yet to be investigated, researched, and understood. Maybe some of you will join me as I walk the walk.